Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 106th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V's in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. We appreciate everyone's ongoing support. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's good, fam?
What's up, Woods? Great to be back for another week, mate. Now we've got plenty of good stuff to talk about today, so yeah, looking forward to kick it with you.
Likewise, my friend. So without a further ado, let's get into it. What jerseys you got for us today?
Nice. Well, obviously my narrative's changed a little bit now that we've got some All-Star reserves replacements being named. So, look, I'm not even going to talk too much today. I'm just going to stand up and show you the one I'm rocking. It's a double Trae Young jersey day. I thought it was fitting I'd show his All-Star jersey. This is one from 2020. Not sure if you knew I had this one, but it's, I like surprising with my random All-Star jersey. So I'll just stand up and show you this one, and I'll talk a little bit about Trae.
I don't have to tell you guys. Robbie just told you the jerseys he's got. A Trae Young All-Star jersey, and hanging in the background, a Trae Young Atlanta Hawks jersey.
I'm not going to lie, Woods. I was pretty annoyed that he didn't make the reserves initially. I know we spoke about this last week and we made our predictions. As much as I was probably trying to be I was actually really confident Trae was going to make it. I thought, how can you be averaging 27 and 11? I really thought he would. I think it came down to probably the Dame Lillard selection, making the starting five. I actually don't think he would have got picked on the bench. I think, like, say Jalen Brunson was the starter, I think Trae probably would have got named over Dame Lillard. I think he's had a better year in pretty much every category there except for team wins, and it's an individual All-Star game, so I don't know how much team wins should come into play. But, yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit as we get on. He's been named as an injury replacement. Really thrilled about that. There was a lot of talk, wasn't there? I know LeBron came out, Steph Curry, a lot of these superstars came out, and they were genuinely shocked that Trae didn't make it. So it just shows you he's got the support of some of the stars in the league. But, yeah, liking this one. It's the Kia All-Star game from 2020. Of course, behind me, we've just got the standard sort of red Trae jersey there. But, yeah, looking forward to see him in the All-Star game and talk a bit about that with you.
Likewise.
Nice. And what are you rocking today? I see you got the nice Spurs combo. I know that jersey number there. I'm loving that hat too. I like that old Spurs logo. So yeah,
Thanks.
Why don't you show us that one? Woods are standing, rocking the number 20, Manu Ginobili. Great jersey there. Funny, when I see Ginobili, Woods, I always think of the American people thinking he was European. I used to hear that so many times, he's a great player from Europe. Incorrect, anyway. Yeah, looking forward to what you got to say about him. You're not going to catch like a bat by any chance, like during the podcast if one flies past you? Yeah.
No, nothing like that. Sit still for a while, man. Just while I go through his accolades. He was the 57th overall pick in the second round of the 99 NBA draft. So when we talk about second round picks that had great careers, his name has to be in the forefront of everyone's conversations. He didn't actually enter the league till 2002 and spent his whole career with the San Antonio Spurs and had a storied career in Europe. Well, before he joined, not just in Europe, he played in South America and Europe before he joined, just to get that right, before he joined the NBA. But these are his accolades: 4-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA All-Star, 2-time All-NBA third teamer, NBA All-Rookie second team. His number 20 is retired by the San Antonio Spurs. His Argentina number 5 is retired. Before he entered the NBA, he was a EuroLeague champion, EuroLeague Finals MVP. So, I could go on for a while. And since he stopped playing, he's since joined the San Antonio Spurs front office as a special advisor to basketball operations. And on the 10th of September 2022, Ginobili became the 12th player to have played for San Antonio. 12th player to have played for the San Antonio Spurs franchise to be inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. He is, however, only one of 4 Spurs to be inducted who played exclusively for the San Antonio franchise. Can you name the other 3, Robbie?
So Robinson, Duncan. You're not going to trick me with Tony Parker, because I'm sure I had a dream that he played with Charlotte for a season there, which never seemed right. So there's one more Spur.
It's a difficult one. Became a great coach.
Bowen in it? No.
Became a great coach with the Supersonics and the Nuggets. His playing career would have been in the 60s and 70s.
Right. Supersonics and Nuggets. Not George Karl.
George Karl it is. George Karl it is.
Nice. I'm glad I got that. Yeah. Hey, interesting you said that about Manu Wood. So such good accolades there. If you would have quizzed me before, I don't know if I would have guessed those 2 All-NBA third teams. For me, like, that may be the most impressive one. So that shows for 2 seasons there, he was in the top 15 players in the whole NBA, that's huge, right? Given that he probably would have had at least 2 guys on his own team that were sort of considered better players than him, I guess. 2, even 3 at some stages. So, yeah, that's pretty good. He was a great player to watch, wasn't he? I really enjoyed his career.
And 2008, 2011, those years, he was in a bench role when he made those All-NBA teams, which makes it an even, bigger achievement. One thing I'll always remember him for, everyone's talking about the Euro step these days, right? He did a Euro step, to get to the basket and score. I can't remember a guy who made it as popular as Manu did. Can you remember a guy before him who brought that move to the NBA and made it his own? Was he the first?
I'd say it probably would be. And I'll tell you another thing, Woods, that probably gets forgotten a bit about Manu. Sneaky athletic, right? He's had a lot of posters, right, where he would sort of drive down the middle of the lane, obviously a left-hander there. He'd throw it down with his left hand. And I think people sort of remember him at the end of his career. He was very balding and slowed down a bit. But, man, he had some hops early on in his career. And, yeah, really enjoyed. You mentioned, obviously, his number 5 was retired by the Argentinian national team. Really enjoyed those Argentinian teams back in the day. I hope they get back to the top level as a country because they don't seem like they're like it at the moment. But, no, good one to show today. I mean,
that long, flowing, beautiful hair that he had early in his career, I associate with his athleticism. Later in life, when he lost the hair, he became a smarter player. Maybe he didn't have that athleticism, but you can relate those 2 looks to his athleticism.
He always seemed like a good dude as well, didn't he?
Yeah. And remains an extremely close friend of our very own Paddy Mills to this day.
Yeah, so, nice.
All right, so let's get into some NBA talk to kick off things today. I think we've been doing that a bit lately, a lot going on in the NBA.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the trade deadline, all right? Are we going to be expecting the same sort of movement we've seen over the last few years at the deadline this year?
I always find I get nervous this time of year, Woods, just mainly for the Hawks. Are they going to trade, someone that I like and I'm not expecting or something? Even more so that, we just mentioned before we started recording, about 6 weeks till we go to the US. We're seeing 3 games in Atlanta. Like, I'd hate for them to, trade 3 of these core players I like. I think in terms of general players, I mean, look, last year was pretty big, wasn't it? We saw Kyrie get traded. I think maybe 2 days later, that's when Kevin Durant said that he wanted to be traded, and then he went off as well. So I don't know whether we'll see the name players maybe that we saw last year, given those 2 guys are, all-star, all-NBA caliber players. But I think we'll still likely see one. I think there'll be teams that are, trying to strengthen their roster spots for these playoff runs and everything. We've seen teams maybe aren't valuing draft picks as much as they were in previous years. So will we see, I heard apparently for Alex Caruso, the Bulls are wanting 2 first-round picks, which I thought was pretty crazy. But, we might see some stuff like that going on just for teams to maybe go for, swing for the Grand Slam now. Maybe teams like the Clippers, right? So they could potentially give up some, I don't think they've got a lot of draft picks and stuff, but they could give up some future picks there and just try and strengthen that team for a big finals run. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And what is it? It's Friday our time, I think, from memory.
Yeah, it is. Okay, you mentioned the Clippers. There's a few teams I want to talk about. Let's start with our Atlanta Hawks. Are we going to be active at the trade deadline? Is it a real possibility that a DeJounte Murray, I've even heard whispers that Trae Young could be involved in trade talks.
A million % Trae won't get drafted. You heard it from me first.
Won't get traded.
Well, absolutely. Sorry, won't get traded, of course. DeJounte's name's been coming up a lot, hasn't it? I've also heard DeAndre Hunter's name mentioned, and Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's interesting. He just signed in the off season on a pretty healthy contract, or for the team that is. The DJ one's interesting. I think they've probably fielded a lot of calls about this. I'm not sure if they're the ones actively making the calls there. I know they want a pretty good return if they are to trade him there. It's look, we've only had him it's a season and a half now, isn't it? So the record maybe hasn't been great. I think our winning percentage is lower since we've had him than it was before that. But I think it's a matter of time trying to get these, this backcourt on the same page. We have had a lot of injuries. I know other teams have as well. But I'm going to say DeJounte does stay, but it certainly would not surprise if there was a trade there. I just hope if we do trade him, Woods, it's not some rubbish thing there. Like, I don't want to get someone like D'Angelo Russell or someone like that in return. It's got to be someone that's, an all-star type caliber player there. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping happens there anyway.
Look, this season has followed a similar trajectory to a few seasons ago when we made the Eastern Conference Finals. We started really slow and then went on a hectic run in the back half of the season,
Yeah.
to make that playoff run. And we've shown some really good form over the last, 5, 6 games. What's that, 5 in a row? We lost one. 5 in a row, we
Yeah,
lost
4
one.
out of the last 5, yeah.
4 out of the last 5, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think the team still giving up too many points, don't get me wrong, but we're on an upward trajectory. So I think it's worth just sticking with the team as it is now. Okay, a couple other teams I wanted to raise with you. 2 teams out in California,
Yeah.
the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers. I think these 2 teams are also, you mentioned the Clippers, are franchises that could do with making some moves at the deadline. What do you think? Are they going to be active?
I mean, look, the Lakers, I feel like, are always that team that's kind of putting rumours and stuff like that out there because they want to strengthen their team. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. The Clippers, I think, is likely. I wouldn't be surprised to see them just trade. I've heard people like Bones Highland, who I think they picked up maybe in the deadline last year, if I'm not mistaken. They could just, try and get that, 7th, 8th, 9th guy to build up their team there. I'm not sure about the Lakers Woods. They're, just struggling to stay over 500 at the moment. They're looking a bit old. I think some of these off-season signings that, let's face it, you and I could sign with the Lakers in the off-season and people will be, oh, that's a great signing sort of thing. They always seem to be like that. A lot of people that, maybe sort of suck up to the Lakers a bit. I don't think these guys like Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish and some of these other guys that were a little bit hyped in the off-season have really been amazing for them. So I don't know what either team has got to trade in terms of, high-profile quality players there. So I'm not sure exactly how they'll go, but I'm sure both LA teams will be on the market. Did you say Golden State as well? Was it?
Yeah, Golden State especially,
Yeah, I mean, I heard a couple of trade rumours that they were looking to try and get Clint Capella, actually. So we'll see how we go with that. One rumour I saw had Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins going to Atlanta for basically for Clint Capella there. So a little bit surprised about that. I'd probably be happy to get Jonathan Kuminga.
A great addition to our roster. He's young. He's got a great upside. And potentially parting ways with Clint Capella. That's something that we've talked about for a while. The only concern for me is Onyeka Okongwu ready to step up and start. And we've talked about this many times. So it remains to be seen, right?
Definitely. Yeah, it'd be an interesting one. I don't know why Golden State would give up on Kuminga right now, to be honest. He's kind of their youngest, like, sort of bright star they've got out there. Some of these other guys haven't been great, so I don't know why you'd get rid of him. But, yeah, they've got some issues in Golden State at the moment as well.
Yeah, for sure. If a shake-up doesn't happen at this trade deadline, it definitely will in the off-season. So finally, I'd like to talk about the Dallas Mavericks. They're struggling with a little bit with their front court. Grant Williams hasn't delivered on their expectations. You don't know what you're going to get from Maxi Kleber, and you've got who else do you have there? You've got the Canadian forward there. Having a blank. What's his name at the moment?
Dwight Powell, yeah.
Dwight Powell, right?
Yeah.
And they haven't
Tim
got
Hardaway
much
Jr., strange sort of player, right?
Haven't got much out of Richaun Holmes. So there's a little bit of talk that they're going to be look at shipping off Josh Green, our Australian, and look at getting PJ Washington from the Charlotte Hornets. What kind of impact would that have for Dallas, bringing a guy like PJ Washington, who's been really good of late for the Hornets? I know you follow a lot of Hornets games, having Brandon Miller as one of your favorite players. And what kind of impact can Green have if he moves to that Hornets team?
Well, firstly, the PJ Washington one's interesting. I'm hearing his name in a lot of rumours there. So I guess he's someone that, Charlotte have certainly put on the market there that teams are interested in. I'd be pretty surprised, Woods, if Dallas did give up on Josh Green. I think they really like him. I could even say they're pretty high on Green right now, which, pardon the pun. I hope they don't. I kind of like his situation there in Dallas. I think he scored over 20 points maybe in there. Not today's game, in the game before, he got over 20, which is a great sort of scoring game from him. PJ Washington's decent, right? He's a big guy that can kind of stretch the floor and that. Maybe we haven't quite seen him live up to his potential playing in a market like Charlotte there, but I'd probably hope that Josh does stay there. But in terms of someone like PJ Washington, I think he's very likely to go to some sort of team. I think we might see a few of those trades from Charlotte, actually, unless your name's Brandon Miller or LaMelo Ball. I think anyone's kind of, a chance to be traded on that team.
PJ had 40 the other night, right? 43, I think.
He's a funny player, isn't he? He's pretty inconsistent, but when he's at his best, he's good. He's absolutely, and he could help like a team that's going to be pushing for the playoffs there for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's see how that all plays out at the end of the week, Robbie. Now, we selected our All-Star reserves last week, didn't we?
We did.
And it's recently been announced. To bring up selection. If you can just take the audience.
Who went better? I didn't actually go to see. I think maybe you might have got one or two more than me. I know I had Jarrett Allen in the East that didn't make it. As much as I'm happy that Trae did make it, Woods, I think that might be the wrong slide you got up there. There we go. I'm still shocked that Domas Sabonis didn't make it for the West. So look, I'll read the West reserves out there, right? So basically, Steph Curry and Anthony Edwards. I think we both had both of those guys making it, didn't we? I think no surprise there. And I think we both had the two Clippers, and we both had Anthony Davis. So I think we did pretty well there.
And we had Devin Booker as well, right?
You're right. Yeah. So basically, I had. Yeah. Well, I think you had Cat and I had Sabonis, which is interesting. I'm a big fan of both.
I had Gobert and you had Sabonis, right?
That's right. So neither of us had Cat, is that right? And Cat made it there. So
that's the only one we got wrong. Yeah.
It's funny. I saw a few comments from Rudy Gobert. He's obviously a bit disappointed he didn't make it. Haven't heard much out of the Sacramento and Sabonis camp there. He's probably someone that doesn't really care. He's probably got other plans for that week off there. But, I think he might have pushed out another triple-double today, Sabonis. So it's a shame. Yep. If there's another injury, surely he's the first one that gets picked there. I'd love almost something, like say there was another injury in the East there, Woods. I'd love to see some reason that they could get Sabonis over there, because otherwise you're sort of getting the third reserve in the East when someone that clearly, in my mind, should have made it, he probably likely won't. So at the moment, we're expecting all those West players to play. I don't think there's any sort of niggling injuries. Correct. LeBron's always someone you never know. I think even if LeBron was injured, he'd still play and just, play a couple of minutes sort of thing. Look, in terms of the East there, Paolo Banchero, I don't know if you had him, did you? I know I did have him making his first All-Star game. Jaylen Brown, it's interesting. When I saw Jaylen Brown was named for the dunk comp today, Woods, my first thoughts were, is he going to do like the old Spud Webb dunks where he runs up? Because obviously Jaylen Brown can't dribble a basketball. So is he going to run up and just try and do dunks without actually dribbling it like Spud Webb used to do back in the day? Yeah. So interested to see what happens there. Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Maxey, they were both locks, I think, to make the team, and Donovan Mitchell. And, the two injury replacements, I think you might have mentioned, so Julius Randle and Joel Embiid. I think Randle's expected back in a couple of weeks. Joel Embiid is the big, asterisk, question mark, TBC type thing at the moment. They're saying they're going to reevaluate him in 4 weeks. It's a shame, isn't it? Someone that was averaging close to 36 points and about 11 boards this season. He was having one of the greatest seasons we've seen in our time following the game, Wood. So it's a shame that he's out. Bam Adebayo, I think, is the other one that I didn't mention that made it there. So, for me, look, I'm happy that Trae's on the team now. Scotty Barnes, I think, he was in my snubs, this sort of thing. Jarrett Allen's got to be sort of close there, but, I guess you've got to, Scotty Barnes and Trae were deserving of that. But, what were your thoughts? Did you think they got it wrong with any of these picks? Or you think? No,
we had a few slightly different choices there, but, I had Scotty Barnes in there and Trae Young in there, So I'm not too fussed there. So just to be clear, Joel Embiid and Julius Randle will not be playing, and Scotty Barnes and Trae Young will be replacing them, yeah?
Hey, Woods, tell me, I haven't looked this up myself, but Paolo Banchero, when was the last time you could remember an Orlando player making the All-Star game? We'll have to get a bit of a fact check there, but that's got to have been a while, right?
Would it be Dwight Howard?
Maybe. Yeah, has anyone made it since Dwight Howard? I know there's probably someone that we've forgotten somehow. But it just seems like a long time. I sort of see that Orlando logo there and thought, good on him. Good on the franchise getting that guy they took number one. And, he's had a really good year and they've had a good, good team there. Bam Adebayo, happy with that? Or
yeah, very happy. I had him on my selection, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because he's leading that team, putting up good numbers. I'm pretty happy with that selection. Okay. Cool. While we're on Joel Embiid as well, the injury's been a travesty because he's having one of the greatest seasons of all time. In fact, I was reading the other day, the greatest scoring season per minute, even better than Will Chamberlain when he averaged 50 points a game because he was playing 48 plus minutes. So this is in terms of productivity in points per minute, this is the greatest scoring season in the history of the NBA. Right now they're coming fifth, I think, in the Eastern Conference at the moment. They're going to have to stay afloat and make sure that they get a decent seed when Joel Embiid comes back, hopefully for the playoff run. Should they make some moves at the trade deadline themselves to try and, shore that team up so that they can, maintain a good seed going into playoff time.
They could potentially. I know Tobias Harris's name's always mentioned out there. I think he's someone that's quite well respected around the league. But is that can they probably still need someone like him on there to put up the points on the board? So they'd have to get something pretty good back for him. It's an interesting time for Philly, isn't it? They certainly struggle. The record's pretty poor without Embiid, as you'd expect this year. Maxey, if anyone's got Maxey on their fantasy team, is probably smiling right now because he's just going to put up some massive numbers for the rest of the year, leading that team. Yep. It's a shame, isn't it? I think it's just robbed everyone, and like you said, of one of the better seasons we've seen. It's also potentially robbed me for my first ever NBA game next month, because that very first game we're seeing is Clippers versus Philly. So do you think he's any chance to be playing? I think it's the 24th of March, Wood. So they're saying they'll reevaluate in 4 weeks. Do you think he's any chance, or they might just, or do you think what do you think is going to happen? Are they going to shut him down for the season, or what do you think they might end up doing there?
I think first they need to evaluate if he can make it back for the playoffs. If he can, there's no point in playing him in the regular season. If they do, it should be in the last couple of games of the season just to get his conditioning up before the playoffs start, right?
Yeah.
In limited minutes. But I can't see him being available to play in 6 weeks when we're over
What
there.
if I make one of those posters like you see that says I've flown all the way from Sydney, Australia to see Joel Embiid? Do you think they might play him if they see that sign, or do you think there's still no chance?
Definitely not, but I still think that you should make that poster. That'd be pretty cool. You'd get on national TV, right?
Sounds good. We'll see what we can do, yeah.
All right. Okay, so the NBL. Let's move on to the NBL. Heating up 2 rounds after we approach the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on a few things, right? And our franchises specifically, right? And we normally, speak about each other. I speak about the Kings. You speak about the Wildcats. So I thought let's switch it around a little bit as the playoffs approach. I'd like you to speak about the Kings and what they can do to make the playoffs, if they can. They've got 2 games left, one against the Hawks, one against Southeast Melbourne. You'd think they should win against Southeast Melbourne and probably just sneak into a play-in position there. What do you think the Kings need to do to...
Yeah, I actually think they'll win both of those, Woods, and they'll actually make the top 4, which will be my prediction. So they'll actually be in the playoffs and not the play-in. I'm not sure if the exact maths, I might call it the ladder while I'm talking about this now, if they win both, if they're actually guaranteed to make it, or whether it's going to come down to other results. It's interesting, the ladder, before I talk a bit more about Sydney. I saw on NBL overtime last night, obviously Melbourne United are guaranteed a top 2 spot, and the Wildcats are guaranteed a top 6 spot, but every other spot is still open now. So I think that's amazing with 2 rounds left. I think it's really good to see this year just how close the league has been. So in terms of Sydney, so they're 12-14, which that's crazy to see that stat, isn't it? If I would have told you at the start of the season with 2 games left, the Kings would be 2 games under 500, you wouldn't have believed me, I would have thought, with that amazing roster they built up in the off-season. Look, if they win those last 2, they'll go 14-14. I think that will be enough to get them into 4th spot, because you mentioned they're obviously playing Illawarra. Illawarra's still got 4 games left, which is interesting, isn't it? So they must have doubles both rounds. Yeah, they must do.
They do. They do, and so do New Zealand.
And look, Brisbane's got the same win-loss record and played the same amount of games there, which is interesting as well. And New Zealand's probably that other one, if we're talking playoffs, Woods, they've still got 4 games left as well. And they're only 1 game behind Sydney. So, 2 games in hand, 1 game behind Sydney. So it's interesting, isn't it? Sydney could theoretically win both of those games and still not make the top 4 and have to go via the play-in. So I think either way they're making it, Woods. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether it's top 4 or whether it will be 5th or 6th there.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that they're 12-14. We were 7-3 from memory. I'm sure the viewers will correct me if I'm wrong there, but that doesn't bode well since then, does it?
No, the whole DJ Hogue thing's been look, it's been disappointing as for me, someone that I really loved his game last year for Cairns, and I was scared when Sydney signed him. I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, getting someone who's in the top 3 in the MVP voting, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy all season. Has it been the one injury, or has he had a couple of different injuries there? I
think it's the shoulder that's really been plaguing him and coming back a bit early. So let's just say DJ Hogue is fit and we hypothetically get a 4th seed. Is there a chance that the Kings can make some a splash in that playoffs if they get it together in a 3-game series against, say, a Melbourne?
Yeah, on paper, I'd say there's definitely a chance. We know the game's not played on paper. I'm still a little bit worried about their coaching, Woods. He's still not convincing, is he? 2 games left, just substitution patterns, just his knowledge for the way the game's played here, the way the game's officiated here. So,
yep, I agree.
And look, I'd never say never. If they were to somehow get, like, say, Tassie, for example, in a 3-game series. I think they could beat them. I'm maybe not as high on Tassie as what some other people are, but I think Perth's going to wrap up that second spot with 3 games in hand. They've got a 2-game lead over Tassie as well. So I think it's going to be Tassie and one of those other 3 teams we mentioned that's going to finish 4th. So, look, short answer is I think they could win one of those series, but I'm not convinced just with the coaching and with the health issues.
No, I'm with you. I agree. So let's talk about your Wildcats. You just mentioned them, right? Start of the season, Bryce Cotton was really struggling for form. And, the Wildcats go as far as Bryce Cotton goes, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
He got it together and really dominated, and they went on that run. Over the last 2 games, I think the stat was, I think it was 4 from 26 over the last 2 games, or 5 from 26. He's averaging, to 10, 15 points a game, and they've suffered 2 bad losses. So my question to you is, are they over reliant on Bryce Cotton? Is it a bit of a concern for you that if he doesn't perform, the Wildcats struggle to win ball games?
It's strange. I thought they'd move past this, with the way they were playing earlier in the season and that sort of heavy reliance on Bryce. They've got a deep team. They should be able to, cover if Bryce is having an off night. To me, I think Cotton looks a bit tired. He also looks a bit frustrated. We've heard, there's been a lot of talk about him not getting the calls, and perhaps he's maybe overthinking that a little bit. I'm not sure, Woods. As much as I'm a massive Perth homer, I think he does get quite a few calls. I think some of the times he gets fouled on threes, they're not foul. So I'm going to probably be the opposite to what people would think would comment on those things. Sometimes when he drives to the basket, he seems to initiate the contact. He probably weighs about as much as you there. So if he gets bumped by a big guy, he's going down on the ground. So I don't know. I think he needs to probably move on from that. And I think some of the other guys need to step up. We saw Pinder have a pretty good game last week. I still feel like we need more from Jordan Usher and Doolittle as well. He hasn't been as good probably the last month. We're not sure if that concussion's had anything to do with that, but
could be.
Yeah. But in terms of the Bryce stuff though, Woods, they need probably a bit of a plan B there, because teams are playing a bit of an old style defense on him. They're really playing him closely. They have a guy switching to him all the time. It should mean that someone's open, so he's a good enough passer that he can get people open. They've got to knock down shots. But, 3 games for the Wildcats to right this. I'm still pretty happy, Woods. There's 7 games over 500, 16-9 for the season. It's still been a very good season considering they didn't start amazingly there. But, they need to pick it up this week, I think. Otherwise, there could be a few concerns.
And to be fair, I think it's New Zealand. What are the last 2 games, right? They've defended him really well. Coach Tatum, Coach Mel have done a good job
absolutely.
on him. I also think that you can see it in his face. He's letting the refereeing get in his head a little bit, right? Which is affecting his ability to perform on the floor. As you mentioned earlier, and you made a very good point, Robbie. He needs to just forget about that a little bit and just focus on his game, right? The game's going to be called the way the game's going to be called, right? The team needs him. So to bounce back this week. Yeah.
The John Riley stuff's been funny when he goes into these press conferences and he's like, has anyone got the box score there? Can you tell me what this stat is? It's like FLD. Does anyone know what that means? And it's like the stat for how many times someone's been fouled. It's funny. Apparently he asked it in a press conference last year. He clearly knows what that stat means. But he's just
of course he does.
Get a bit of a rise out of the reporters and stuff there. So I thought that was quite funny.
I like that. that.
Yeah.
Is there some food for thought that once they lock in, say, that second seed, that they maybe play him a bit lighter in minutes in the last game or 2 of the season? He's playing 37 to 40 minutes every game, right?
Yeah, you could see someone like Corey Webster, if they do lock up that second spot, maybe he could even start or play, pretty much split those minutes with Cotton and sort of give Webster a bit of burn there. So hopefully it happens. I know they've got another random Saturday night game this week. It's a shame they couldn't get that win on Marto's retirement day as well. Shout out to the great man, Damien Martin there. It's always disappointing when you've got a big sort of game, whether it's some milestone game or, a jersey retirement there, that you can't get the W. But a shout out to Marto, though, one of the absolute class acts of the NBL.
Well, let's speak on that a little bit further. Our good friends, Nathan Stewie, were there. What does he mean to this ball club and the Perth community?
I mean, he's just amazing, isn't he? I don't think I've seen that combination of someone that was such an impactful player on the court to someone who's just such an amazing human being. I've told the story. I've met him quite a few times. I was lucky enough to meet him. I think it was the James Ennis's year when they had the NBL Blitz in Crow's Nest in Sydney, of all places, Woods. And I've never had such good access to some of these stars. I mean, he was literally getting something from the canteen. I went over and I spoke with him for a good 10 minutes there. His brother actually was there and took a photo of the two of us. I've got hanging up actually. I've probably already showed it on the show before, but There's me and Marto. Nice photo there.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just an amazing guy. What he did for the Wildcats and that franchise there. You know, someone that's not a Perth boy. He's obviously a country New South Wales guy that's found a home in Perth now, and I think he's probably there to stay. So, yeah, he's it's great to see his number retired and in the rafters now, and thoroughly deserved, I think.
Shout out to Damian Martin. Okay, so you were speaking about the Breakers, right? They've got 4 games in hand as well as Illawarra, so doubles on the last 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
We just got news that Anthony Lamb's got a ruptured Achilles and he will be out for the season. Poor guy. He's had a great season. He's got a long road back to recovery. How is this going to affect the New Zealand Breakers push in these last 4 games? You know, I think they're going to miss him.
Oh, they're going to miss him big time. I mean, he's been a bit of a revelation, hasn't he, this season? He came in to replace Justinian Jessup, I believe, who's actually still rehabbing that injury in New Zealand, which is kind of remarkable. But yeah, he was good from the very first game here. He's been really fun to watch. He's still likely to maybe get an All-NBL first team, I would have thought, even though he's going to miss these last 4 games and he started the season late, but he's got to be a big chance there. At the very least, All-NBL second team. I do think New Zealand have got that depth to cover for him, though. I think I might have mentioned either last week or the week before. I'm still high on that roster. I love the other 2 imports they've got in Sheatham and the law firm there. I like some of the local players they've got and that depth they've got. So, yeah, 4 games left. I don't know whether it's in their own destiny now, is it? So, if they won all 4 there, they'd finish on 15 wins. That would definitely get them in. But, look, if they go 2-2, there would. If they end up, 13-15...
Yeah, they're not. I mean,
I'm not sure if that gets them in there, right? Because Brisbane, it could definitely come down to percentages, and we saw that on the last game of the last round last season, right? And that's why people shoot those shots at the end of a game, right? Don't do this American rubbish that you love, Woods, where you just dribble the ball out and shake hands with someone. Get a 3 up there. Try and boost your scoring average, and it could come down to those little things like that there. So look, they could definitely finish with an equal record to say Sydney or Brisbane. I know Cairns and Adelaide are both on the same amount of wins, but they've played 2 more games. So I think you can cross them out now. So I think New Zealand's kind of that last team that's currently out that could eventually make it in. So I'm thinking they will make it. I'm actually going to say now I think they do make it, and maybe Brisbane drop out.
And that's been the story of their season. You mentioned Justinian Jessup, right? Throughout the season, they've had injuries to Finn Delaney, William McDowell-White, Zylan Cheatham, and they've just managed to stay afloat despite all of this. So it's something that they're accustomed to. The fact that Zylan Cheatham is healthy now and playing some good basketball papers over the cracks somewhat, a little bit, losing Lamb, right? So
100%. Yeah.
All right. So maybe we'll just go through the round and we can give our predictions as to what we think. I'm just going to bring it up. Give me a second, Robbie. Let me know when you can see the screen. All right, got that?
Yeah, all good.
All right, let's start. The round starts on Friday. Very big game. New Zealand Breakers at home to the Illawarra Hawks. Who you got there?
That is a big one, isn't it? So both these teams on a double this week. I think maybe the only teams on a double from memory.
Correct.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like every game this round is going to just totally shape it. I'm looking forward to next week's final round. I'm going to say New Zealand win this one, but you're right. This should be a cracker of a game. This is a can't miss game. I can't quite read the times there. That's the early game, I think, on Friday, isn't it?
That's a 5:30 game. Yep.
Yeah, it's always a bit tough to watch that time, but yeah, that should be a really good game. What are your thoughts on that one?
I got Illawarra. They've been on a good run. They had a really good round. They've got that momentum. Justin Robinson started to play well again after going quiet for a while. So I'm going to go Illawarra in a tight one. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's move on. The second game on Friday, another massive game. Brisbane Bullets, Adelaide 36ers. Brisbane at home there. Who you got?
Mate, Adelaide, one of the form teams in the season at the moment. It's great to see Trae Young playing well. DJ's obviously re-signed and been quite good there. It's a tough one, isn't it? I think if Brisbane lose that one, they will probably be no chance of making it.
If either of them lose, yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, they've played the same amount of games and Brisbane's only won one more, so you're right. I'm going to say maybe a little bit too much at stake for Brisbane at home on this one. I'll say they might get a close win.
Okay, yeah. I'll probably just agree with you there, Southeast Melbourne at home to Tasmania, riddled by injuries. Southeast Melbourne, I can't see them. I can see them competing, but Tasmania should get that done, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, look, injuries aside, Woods are really another disappointing season for South East Melbourne. I think I've mentioned it a few times. I was high on them at the start of the year. I think they did construct a pretty good roster there, but for them to be, well, I mean, very likely to be wooden spoons here is just a real disappointment. No matter what's happened with the injuries there. So yeah, I don't know. They've got a lot to play for. We might just see them, roll over and sort of die in these last two games. So maybe Tasmania by 12 to 15 in this game, I'd say.
Yep, I agree with you. Your Perth Wildcats at home. That Saturday game you mentioned to the Taipans. Surely Perth should get the job done there.
I think they should get back on track for this one. Cairns seem to be limping to the finish line. It's been a pretty up and down season for them. Probably a lot more downs than ups there. So yeah, I think Perth will turn it around, make it win 17, and that will lock up that top 2 spot if they get this one. So yeah, I think Perth have got this one.
While we're on the topic of that game in the Cairns Taipan, you saw overtime yesterday and the rumours circulating that there was a bit of a disagreement between Adam Ford and Taj McCall, and that's the reason Taj McCall was sent to the bench. Those two have had a great bond, a great relationship. In fact, Taj McCall has come out and said he's like my big bro, right? Yeah. What do you think happened there? Do you think that was a coaching decision or a decision based on a falling out between the two?
I'd say it could be a little falling out, but I think they're both probably pretty thick-skinned guys there, so I think they can probably rock up at training the next day and talk it out, maybe go and have a coffee or even a cold drink or something and sort of talk through their issues. So I don't see any problems lingering with that. I think sometimes these things happen, in the heat of the battle.
Fair enough. Yep, I agree with you. All right, then we got the doubleheader on Sunday, starting with United versus New Zealand. That should be a fun game, but I think Melbourne at home should probably get the job done there against New Zealand.
Both of these two games are big, aren't they? I mean, Melbourne, look, obviously Melbourne want to wrap up that first spot. They haven't quite done it yet. Melbourne and Perth both have 3 games to play. They're nearly there, right? I think if they do win this one, it's going to, they've got a better percentage in Perth. So very likely if Melbourne win this one, they wrap up the minor premiership. So, yeah, look, I'm tipping New Zealand to win that first one, so I think they'll probably split the round this weekend and Melbourne will get the W.
Yep, I agree with you. And then probably the game of the round, the freeway,
what do they call it?
The freeway clash or the freeway challenge or whatever, right? Sydney Kings versus the Illawarra Hawks at Kudos Bank Arena. I'll be watching from the comfort of my house. I don't really want to go in.
Look at this.
Yeah.
What's going on? This is about the least games I've seen you. Tell me, is this a Sunday afternoon thing? Is this not enjoying what the Kings are doing this year?
Yep.
Tell me about what's going on.
Combination of both, man. I'm not enjoying the brand of basketball they're playing. I don't like the Sunday evening games. And I just thought, let me just chill at home, spend some time with the family and watch it on TV in the comfort of my house. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel bad tipping Sydney because that's going to mean I've got the Hawks to lose both games this weekend. I kind of feel like, no, I'm going to say the Hawks win this one. I'll probably change my mind from what I initially thought. Love the way Gary Clark's playing at the moment. Speaking of someone that could be an All-NBL chance, he's really making his claim late in the season for that honour there. So I'd say Illawarra could win. I know they won the Christmas Day game, didn't they? That was the last time they played, I think. So, yeah, Illawarra for me. And maybe a good idea for you to stay at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Illawarra as well, man. I've said this before, and I'm not just doing that, reverse psychology thinking here. I do not want to see the Kings make the top 6 this year. I want them to fall out so that the front office can really have a look at themselves, shake up a few things. I think Damon Lowry said it. Whoever's coaching them next year, the front office needs to say, who gave up this year, Who gave up on the Kings? Who wasn't buying in to what they were doing? And they shouldn't be coming back, right? And even if we do make it in, I don't see us, doing much or making some noise or winning a championship this year. So for the betterment of the future of the club, I'd like to see us lose as much as I hate to say that out loud. But yeah, that's my reasoning. Yeah.
Oh, well said. Well said.
All right, man. Let's do some classic pack, shall we?
Sounds good. At least you're going to credit me last week. I was on fire, right? So normally
you were on fire.
Good. So we'll see if I can back that up as well. And
I've got the Series 2 Skybox. Should I change it up or should I go with them? They're the difficult ones.
Series 2. What else you got? Yeah, get us something a bit more.
All right.
A bit more high level. All right. I'll do the on-hold music while you grab that. So Woody mentioned the Series 2 Skybox. A lot of those Series 2 are, sort of free agent signings and things like that occurred. So you're not getting a lot of name players there. One thing I'll say, Woods, I need to check that Dominique card you got last week, that insert card in that Fleer pack there, because I found my big folder of Dominique Wilkins cards when I was cleaning up my house. So I'll have to confirm that. What do you got for us?
I got the upper deck 94, 95.
You know, later edition of Upper Deck. You know, I love anything Upper Deck. So, yeah, I don't remember these ones a lot. It was those earlier years of Upper Deck, the ones that were my real wheelhouse.
Those Skybox series too, man. They're really difficult.
Yeah,
They've got some randoms in there.
Some ordinary ones, yeah. Let's hope for another good one.
All right. Dallas Mavericks forward, number 44.
Harry Davis?
No.
44.
I don't remember him that well.
Stop me on the very first one.
Lorenzo Williams. Lorenzen Williams.
Lorenzo Williams, wow. He's
Lorenzo Williams. Yeah,
Lorenzo Williams. Wow. I remember the name. I couldn't tell you a thing about him, so you could have given me 10 clues and I wouldn't have got that. So,
beautiful looking card, though.
They're always quality cards, Upper Deck.
Yeah.
Is there any inserts in these ones? Does it say on the front of the pack at all? Because I know they used to have some holograms in the earlier packs there. They used to.
I think that's the hologram one. That's the hologram one, right?
Is that right? Okay.
See? Yeah.
Why can't we have got a Michael Jordan one instead of blooming Lorenz and Williams? Jeez. Lorenzo or Lorenzen? So I don't even know the first name.
Lorenzo Williams.
Lorenzo.
Right?
Shout out to Lorenzo.
Insert card in every pack, all right? Okay. So we got one set. Okay. I'm not Katina Mobley, but I am Milwaukee Bucks.
Eric Mobley?
Eric Mobley.
Oh, that's a blast from the past. I love those old Bucks jerseys. I think I rocked a couple of them in recent episodes. So, yeah, I haven't thought about that name for a while.
Okay. I like this guy. Great shooter from the Clippers. White guy.
Oh, Eric
6'7". Eric Vitalski. Yeah.
Nice.
Love this game. You know.
Wow, look who's got him. Is that Tim Bro from Houston?
It is. It's Tim Bro. It's Tim Bro.
Tim Bro. Yeah, nice. Couple of names there I hadn't thought about for a while.
We get this guy's card a lot. Just a bona fide scorer. Number 34 from the New Jersey Nets. Could really put up points when he wanted to. 6'8". Went to Auburn.
Chris Morris.
And
what do I normally say when we get a Chris Morris card? I remember when he shattered the backboard on a dunk.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Look that up on YouTube if no one can remember that one. It was a pretty solid dunk, too.
Southpaw from our Atlanta Hawks.
Classic man.
Yeah.
He's about the only Southpaw I can think of from the Hawks. Oh, that's a nice one. Who's he jumping over there? Is that Don McClain or someone?
Yeah. Oh, it's Joe Klein, I think.
Joe Klein, yeah.
Okay.
I think he's about to throw that down on him to post it, man. So nice.
All right. When we talk about great centers in the 90s, this guy's name often doesn't get mentioned as much as it should. Came over from Europe. Was part of some really good Indiana Pacers teams.
Dunking Dutchman.
The Dunking Dutchman, Rick Smits.
Yeah. He was huge. What's his height and weight on that, Woods? He was so much bigger than some of those other centers.
7'4", 265.
Yeah, he was huge.
Yeah.
He was bigger than your Robinsons, your Patrick Ewings, all those sort of guys at the time.
Another Southpaw whose card we recently pulled. I've given you the clue before, but I'll give you different. Had a weird free throw shooting technique. You'd want this guy looking out for you any day of the week.
And we got his card last week, actually, I think, didn't we?
Last week.
As much as he had a pretty awkward looking shot, those baseline shots like he's jacking up there, they weren't too bad. They were very flat looking shots, weren't they? But again, though, these are great looking cards, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, really nice set.
Oh, okay. Love this guy. Moved into refereeing after a career in the NBA.
Workman.
Hayward
former Atlanta Hawk there. What's the places? Yeah, he played with the Hawks. Yeah, he's one of those rare players that's transitioned from a ref to a player, right? There's not a lot of them.
We haven't had many great all-stars in this pack, but they've been decent cards, players we know, Pistons center, number 41.
Mark West.
Mark West. Give us some tidbits on Mark West. He's involved in a trade, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was in that Philly trade, I think, that got Barkley to Phoenix there, and he was pretty well known for both those teams. Don't remember a lot of Mark West with Detroit, but he was a serviceable big man, I think, back in the day. Probably someone whose game wouldn't have translated very well to the current NBA.
Yep. All right. I haven't heard this guy's name in a while. Stewie, you'd love this one. Number 21 from the Heat, really stockily built. built guy, 6'5", swingman, shooting guard, small forward. Liddell Eccles.
Oh, to get
Liddell Eccles. Yeah.
Wow, I'm liking that one. Yeah,
You're doing well today.
I really remember him from Washington as well back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
Eccles, What college did he go to out of interest, Woods? Liddell Eccles.
New Orleans.
Okay, so a bit of a random college. Yeah, great name.
Jeez, these are awesome looking cards, man.
They are. They're good, aren't they? Yeah. Have we done one of these packs before? I don't think we have.
No, I don't think we have, man. Okay. What is this? This is this is a draft analysis card. Charlotte has on the NBA championship, and they've made the right moves in the draft, getting this guy with the 38th pick. Right?
That's testing me. 38th pick in like 90.
6'7", went to Kansas.
Rex. Is it? Am I right with Rex?
No, Darren Hancock.
Oh, okay, no, all right. No, I don't know anything about him. Yeah.
Finally,
finish with a good one. We started off with a dodgy one. Finish with.
This is the best one. This is the best one ever, man. This is another one of those rookie insert cards. I think Dallas did well in the recent lottery picks. This guy could be the next Irvin Johnson. The Mavericks will be back to the playoffs real soon. Okay, remembering this is the 94-95 season. One of the greatest point guards of all time he ended up being, right? So the outlook,
Jason Kidd, right?
Jason Kidd, yep.
Well, that's a nice looking card for sure. Nice. Yeah, that finished off well. Yeah, really nice looking set, those ones. I don't know how long the Upper Deck ones went for. I know they weren't around forever, those sort of ones. But yeah, I'll have to check my Beckett and get back to you for that. But no, it was fun. It was fun.
Nice. All right, man. Been a great show. Why don't you take us out?
Sounds good, mate. Well, yeah, just as we always say, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube, wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Yeah, we really appreciate all the support that we get. Look, in terms of where we can be followed on X, we're at Throwback Hoops, Instagram, throwback.hoops, and our email address, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. As always, if you've got any jersey suggestions, topics you want us to discuss on the show, perhaps even a guest that we haven't had on it, you'd like to see us try and get on the show, just reach out to us there. And of course, Patreon, if anyone wants to pledge a little bit of support for us there. There's still quite a lot of fees and stuff associated with bringing this show each week. So if anyone wants to assist with that, we'll be very grateful. And yeah, it's been another fun show there, Woods.
It has. Thanks, Robbie. And yeah, to all our fans and supporters, until we do this all again next week, peace out.